This week's episode of The Grid is sponsored by Impix. Shoot today, upload tonight, we ship tomorrow. Manfrotto. Imagine more. On One Software, software that gets you back to shooting. Adorama, more than a camera store. And Tiffin, helping create the world's greatest images.
Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new episode of The Grid. Now, you're probably noticing that there's a couple of different changes that are around here, and I think it's really weird that on the day that there's all these changes, there's probably the most amount of people watching, which is pretty intense. Anyway, welcome, everybody. My name is RC. I'm one of the Photoshop guys for the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, and I am extremely excited about the fact that I have two phenomenal co-hosts for this week. So first off, we have Mr. Pete Collins, one of the other Photoshop guys.
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's going on, man?
Well, I'm just made it up to the big boy table.
I know, man. I'm like, hey, it's been like 2 hours since we've done this.
Yeah.
So
it's been a busy week.
It has been a very, very busy week. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But we also have, all the way from the Netherlands, Mr. Frank Doorhof. Frank, what's going on, bro?
Hey, man. I'm so glad to be here. Finally on the grid.
I'm excited. I thought it was really, really cool. But here's the deal. So we're walking around, right? So we've been busy with all the CS6 stuff that we were doing. And yesterday, it was like, all right, well, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the grid.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are we going to do with the grid? And I'm like, all right, well, I'll sit in on the grid and I'll do some stuff. That'll be great. But at the same time, we're like, well, what do we do? Who do we have as a guest? And Scott's like, Frank's there. You can have Frank. Get Frank on the thing. So we kind of roped him into it. We're just like, Frank, you got to do it. Scott has desperately wanted to have you on. So I'm glad that you're here. Now, for those who don't know who Frank is a phenomenal photographer. You do a lot of fashion stuff.
Yes.
You do a lot of people stuff.
Yes, I love everything that has some kind of movement in it, people, characters. So fashion, artists.
Okay.
Yeah, everything that has people in it.
And you're here doing some stuff, like you have some stuff on Kelby Training, and you're going to do some more stuff on Kelby Training, yes. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, there are a couple of giveaways, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. But first, I just kind of wanted to remind everybody, this is smack in the middle of CS6. There's been a big launch. If you haven't seen it, go to the Adobe website, adobe.com, and take a look at all of the different products that have been released. CS6 it's a substantial release.
It is. It's a great release.
You know, like we see all sorts of things, like, you know, we see every single product that's been out there has been refreshed. They've added new products. They've added a whole bunch of different things. They added this other element of thing called the Creative Cloud. So it's important. If you need to be able to find more of that information, make sure you go to adobe.com. That's a good place to go. You also want to stop by tomorrow. Tomorrow at noon, we have photoshopuser.com/CS6/live. I think we have it as a lower third. It'll come up at one point. Don't worry about it. But we're doing a webcast. We've been doing webcasts all this week on all of the features that are in CS6. So that's going to be out there. And we're going to be talking about video.
Video tomorrow.
So I think that's going to be really, really cool. What else can we talk about, Mr. Pete Collins? Let's talk about the giveaways.
Yeah.
Here, you be the holder.
I'll be the holder.
All right, so we're going to give away.
We've got two Crush the Competition. Scott Kelby's great class on how to get out there and to look at your photography in a different way.
Right. So those are two things. And this was actually filmed in Tampa. This was filmed right here. It was actually filmed. It was outside, and they had this big, kind of crowd just come by, and we just filmed how to be able to take a look at composition in a way that you've never seen it before. So I thought that was a great, great thing.
It's a great class, and then we've got some guy who has freeze motion photography. One of the things yeah. This is by Frank.
So Frank's got Frank, a great class.
Well, actually, they don't freeze me, but we freeze a model in there.
So what's it all about?
It's about freezing motion. It's about jumping. We went out to a BMX track and we did some shoots there with a BMX guy. And it's all about the technique to have somebody jump up in the air and just freeze it. And that's where a lot of people are struggling with. Like they don't extend the toes to make the legs longer. It's just filled up with all kinds of tricks and advice. So it's a really great class.
And if you're looking for like action shots, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you want to pay attention to. You want to pay attention to a lot of the little things when you're looking at action. What's the last thing?
Well, we actually got one more thing. Frank decided he wanted to throw in his Live in Boston's DVD as well.
I'm going to leave a signed copy for the one who gets that one.
A signed copy from Frank.
Yes.
And then finally, we've got Colonel Mustard in the conservatory with the pen tool. This is part of a Beat Pete contest to design a T-shirt for NAP, National Association of Photoshop Professionals, and this was one of the winners, and we're going to give one of those away.
So you had actually a contest to see if anybody would beat you.
Yeah.
Nice. Very, very
And then
cool.
I judged it and said they were all unworthy.
Oh, wonderful. Pete's the foil. Pete's like the, what do they call it? The face? And no, Pete's the heel. He's the heel Photoshop guy. So in WWF terms, he's like the heel's the bad guy that everybody likes to hate. Before we actually love Pete, we just talk about the heel. Now, we got to throw all the way over across the pond, all the way over to Paris, France.
The studio.
I'm like, well, you know, the only reason that I said that was because somebody turned around and said, "Oh my God, she walked across the water all the way over." And I'm like, yes, in Paris, France. Bonjour, Nancy.
It's like, ding.
And she's here.
Ta-da! Hi, everybody. I got to give a quick shout out really quickly. I got to say hi to my safe house. I play this game called Please Stay Calm. It's a zombie game. And I told them all I would give them a shout out. So, hey, Algiers Point, you guys rock. All right.
Nice, very, very cool. So now Nancy and Wendy, one of our marketing people on at Kelby Media Group, are actually both pulling double duty. They're pulling like triple duty. So not only are they watching most of the comments, they're trying to post comments over. And so Wendy's got like this big, like just, oh my God, what am I going to do face? So, and we also have some special guests. We have Moose Peterson and Kevin Dobler, two really, really good friends of ours with the K&M Adventures. So they're both here in the audience. There's a ton of other people. Kathy's here. Kathy's like the regular fixture of all that stuff. So there's a lot of people watching this thing today. I don't know why, but they are.
They're ready for the train wreck.
That's right. They are ready for the train wreck. So the first comment that we got was, where did Frank get the Tampa Bay Rays shirt? Frank, tell us a little bit about the Tampa Bay Rays shirt.
Well, this morning I came in after a gruesome flight. I don't want to go into details, but it was terrible. And they asked me to be on the grid, and I was like, you know, when I go somewhere, I really want to do something special. So I decided to try and get a shirt from Tampa, and they sold me a Tampa Bay shirt. So they told me, you have to wear that one. So that's where we get it, just in a store.
And what I thought was awesome about it was that he turned around and Pete was wearing an orange shirt today. And I'm like, dude, he's wearing like a bright orange shirt. And I'm like, all right, so you're going to be on the grid. And you had mentioned something about the color. You thought that we did.
Yeah.
First thing he did, he walked in, oh, he's wearing orange. And I'm like,
yeah. Our national color is orange. We have, of course, our tricolor flag, but orange is our main color. So I came in and I thought Pete was actually being nice for once. With an orange T-shirt. And then he said, oh, no, it's just a coincidence. I was like, okay. So now I'm here with the Tampa Bay T-shirt, and Pete is in his NAP T-shirt. So, yeah, what can you do? He tricked me.
He's like the Andy Kaufman of Photoshop people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he has a good heart. So.
Yeah, he has good something.
Yeah.
Oh, totally kidding. I'm really kidding. Now, Pete.
Yep.
Talk to us a little bit about the thing. We have some new stuff.
The thing?
There was a couple of
I don't even know the thing. What are you talking about?
There was a couple of news articles that we wanted to kind of talk about.
Yeah.
So
which
we
one
had
you
the first
one.
one.
Talk about the first one or the second one?
The first one.
The first one.
The Google Plus one. I thought that the Google Plus one was actually pretty cool.
Okay. You'll have to do the names because
it was the story of Krista Ray. I thought it was a great story.
For those of you who don't follow on Google Plus, there was a lady on there that really loved to help facilitate these scavenger hunts, and she did it just for the love of photography and hanging out with these folks. But the problem was she'd facilitate these, and her computer kept crashing. Well, the guys that were participating with her all got together behind the scenes, and they bought her a new iMac and surprised her with it to say, hey, out of love for your love for photography and all, and our love for what you do, here you go. Yeah. It's just a beautiful story.
And that was the thing that I thought that was really, really interesting. Like, obviously we want to talk about bad advice and we want to talk about all of these kinds of things, but there's a couple of things that we kind of stumble on through the week that I thought were really, really meaningful, and I think people should know. So I think we have the page up. So this is Krista Ray's website. So this is who she is, and basically she's out of Canada. And she does scavenger hunts, and she does like these huge, huge scavenger hunts. And these people got together and banded, and you always hear all these like negative social media stories, right? And I myself, you know, I love social media. I love playing on Twitter. I love playing on Facebook. But sometimes I'm like, what's the point? Like, sometimes I'm like, why do we do this? What can you get out of this? And one of the things that I thought that was great about it, and I got to give, there's a bunch of people that I think it's like Donna Pride and Alan Shapiro and all these other people that were on Google Plus who really kind of spend their time generating this community, talking about this community type thing, that actually banded together, and without her knowing, they raised something like $1,200 in 8 hours.
Wow.
And then on top of that, then companies got in, like Brian Matias from On One Software donated money. On One Software got in the game. And before they knew it, they were able to, behind her back, buy her 27-inch iMac and ship it all the way over to Canada. Oh. And it's like those kinds of stories where you turn around and you go, you know what, dude, that's the cool part. And she was like over the moon about it. And at the end of the day, it's like sometimes we transact commerce and we deal with business and we pay this and we pay that and we do all of that stuff. But those human interest stories, I think, are really, really important. And it kind of just paints a really, really good light.
It reminds you of what it's all about. Right. You know, we get caught up in the busyness of things, busyness of marketing ourselves, photographing, doing whatever, and we forget about life sometimes. And those stories kind of remind you, oh yeah, this is what really counts.
Right, and that wouldn't have happened had it not been for Krista's passion. She was very, very selfless about it. Like, I was watching the show and they're talking to her about it, and she's like, we did this for you, and she's like, for all that you do. And she's like, I don't do this for all you guys. I do this for myself. I do this because I love it. And I think that was the difference. So Krista, congratulations on all that stuff. We can't be more than happy for you. I mean, it's a great thing. I'm glad that it happened. I'm glad that it happened with you. Alan Shapiro, LaDonna Pride, all the other people that were involved with that, congratulations to all of you. So that was a really, really cool story. Another thing that I wanted to talk about that I wanted to bring you guys up to speed on, take a look at this website on municipal workers, all right, New York City. These guys got together, and in New York City, they released all of these pictures. Awesome. So here's the website, and Nancy's going to get and post it. But if you're a fan of New York City as much as I am, they released hundreds of pictures that have never been before seen, taken by municipal workers of New York, just about 100 years old.
And it's a magical place.
It's phenomenal to be able to see these pictures.
You can just shoot whatever you want.
Like, well, this is history, just sitting there.
Wow. So it took them a very, very long time to put all of these things together. So if you're a fan of photography, like obviously you are, because I mean you wouldn't be watching this if you weren't. Chances are you've seen New York pictures, you've experimented and you've shot in New York. We're gonna go through that one very quickly. That's actually
don't mind the couple
keep going,
dead people. Keep going. No, the other way. The other way.
Yeah. All right. Lucky Luciano, right? That's considered to be the father of organized crime.
Yep.
Right? I mean, there's just some incredible pictures there that you'll see about New York in a time that you probably have never seen. So I thought that it was great.
Well, and this just came out, and so right now they're getting flooded, people hitting this website. So if you can't get on right now, go back to it, because the pictures on there are phenomenal.
Yeah, Ron from our IT department came by and was like, dude, you could talk about this. And I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
But anyway, what we want to talk about also is bad advice. So the entire segment came out, you were sitting there and you were talking a little bit about, we were talking about what to do and what kinds of things we want to be able to cover. And it's like, well, we talk about inspiration and we talk about all of these kinds of helpful types of things, but then we don't really talk about all of the bad stuff that's out there, all of the bad information that's out there. And Pete was just like, dude, why don't we just talk about bad advice? Just a listing of all of the bad advice. I'm like, that's actually a really good idea. And start talking about collecting all of these things and how it's supposed to be, how you can kind of weed through all of that advice and actually get some good stuff that's out of it. So let's go ahead and do that. I think that, I don't know if it's time for us to be able to do a break. If it isn't, we can go ahead and let's take a break. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we'll start talking about bad advice. And I want to talk to you guys about, Google Plus conference and all the other stuff. But stick around. We'll be right back on The Grid.
Fashion, lighting. I'm obsessed with red. Red is arresting, it's eye-catching. People can go anywhere for beautiful headshots, nice portraits. But what I like to do is give them something a little more. Have a concept. I like to tell a story. As a professional portrait and fashion photographer, I like to take the elements of fashion photography and apply them to my portrait and wedding work. We'll cover locations, props, hair and makeup, just a lot of different elements that you can apply to your work and really stand out from the crowd. Fashion Flair is not ordinary, it's exciting. So come watch my class, Fashion Flair, at kelbytraining.com.
Where will you be on May 22nd? When some of the biggest photographers on Google+, some of the best instructors of photography in the world today, and some of the geniuses of social media all take the stage in San Francisco for a history-breaking event. It's the first ever Google+ conference for photographers. Now, this is a conference that's different than any other you've seen. It's a collaborative conference that mixes photography, social media, branding, and networking. And the whole thing is designed to help you grow. It's to help you grow your business, grow your brand, grow your friends, grow your circles, and grow your skills all through Google+. Google+ is an incredibly vibrant community for photographers. It's exploding, and if you're not a part of this, you're going to be missing out on something very, very special. This is the time to harness your experience on Google+. This is the time to get the most of it. This is the future, and you want to be a part of it now. And this is the conference where it all comes together. You're going to learn from some of the very best in the business. People like Jeremy Coward, Trey Ratcliffe, Alex Koloskov, Peter Hurley, Colby Brown, Catherine Hall, Lindsay Adler, R.C. Concepcion, Matt Kliskowski, and many more. Plus, I'll be teaching a number of conference sessions, and we have a special appearance from Guy Kawasaki. But if you come to this conference, you have got to bring your camera, because you're going to be doing photo walks, you're going to be doing location shoots, studio shoots, you're going to be taking classes and shooting alongside some of the very, very best in the business. And the whole focus of this conference, of course, is to make sure that you maximize your Google+ experience. You're going to learn from photographers who've built an incredible success story based on what they've done on Google+. You're going to hear their techniques, their tips, and you're even going to hear directly from the people at Google+ on how to maximize your experience and grow your business and grow your reach through using Google+. It's going to be an amazing 2.5 days, and if you sign up early, it's only $299. I hope I get to see you in one of my classes, or I get to shoot alongside you at the Google+ conference for photographers, May 22nd in San Francisco. We'll see you there.
Welcome back. We're back live on the grid. Pete Collins. My name is RC, and I'm here with Mr. Frank Doorhof and
Oh, yeah.
the X Pro 1.
Yeah.
All right? It was like the elephant in the room. It's kind of just like been sitting there, and we're doing stuff, and I keep looking over at it, and I'm like, nice. Yeah.
It's like he really wants it.
Come on.
Like,
Just, hey.
there you go.
This is a big change for you.
No, it's not so much of a change. Why you got to set me up like that, Pete? Why you got to do this?
Because I know.
But anyway, what are you doing with the X Pro 1? Tell me, because it's like you came in with it and you've been shooting with it. Give me a little bit of the backstory about what you've been working on with this.
Well, actually, I think it fits very well with the bad advice stuff. You know, when I read online, it's like you have to have this gear and you have to have that gear. And when the 7200 came out, the Mark II from Canon, a lot of people mailed me like, Frank, how do you like the new lens? And I was like, you know, and I don't have it yet. And it's like, oh, when are you gonna get it? Not. It's like I have the Mark I, and it's like a wonderful lens. And what people don't realize a lot, and you see that really a lot, like one of the comments was, get that 50 mil lens. People are way too much focused, I think, on the gear. What I see it's like I always use the story about, you know, you have a painting, and that's your image. You know, the painting, that's what tells you the story. The way you put the painting on the wall, it's with a hammer and a nail. And for me, the hammer and the nail is the camera. And when I can have a camera that can shoot images I normally can't, and let's be honest, in the studio I work with a medium format camera with the Leaf Aptus digital bag. It's an amazing camera for in the studio. However, when I go outside, it's a little bit too slow for me. So I use a Canon 5D Mark III at the moment. However, when I put a Canon in front of somebody, they will go like, oh, a professional photographer. So during my stay in the US, after Photoshop World, I went to B&H and I bought the Fuji X10. Because I just love the vintage look. I had the same experience with the X100 you had. It was the focus wasn't that good for people. And when it got a picture, it was amazing. So
thank you.
Yes, it was amazing.
That was the point behind the entire thing, and I think that that's one of those things that a lot of people kind of missed it, because there was a lot of brouhaha over my comments over the X100 and Scott's comments over the X100. But what a lot of people didn't miss was that camera, for me, had some problems with focus, and for me, didn't offer enough of a compelling thing with just a fixed lens.
Right.
But one of the things that I told people was, when that thing focuses, that thing was razor sharp.
It sings. And so I wanted to point and shoot. So what I bought was the X10. And I loved it so much that during workshop, I started shooting some images with the X10 just to show people that the camera really doesn't matter. You just put a Skyport on it, you make a shot, and it's on the internet. You can't see the difference between the medium format or the X10. And Fuji got up on that in the Netherlands, and they loved the shots. And they went over to our studio just before I left for you guys, and they handed me this brand new X Pro 1, and they said, just play around with it for 2 weeks, give us some images, and give us your advice about it. And I have to tell you, RC, this one is so much fun. You can just put it into somebody who's walking on the street. You can put it straight in his face, take a picture, and they will just look at you like, okay, it's cool.
And we were talking about the focus thing, and you said that the focus thing felt very different on this one. And I also had a conversation. There's a guy by the name of Michael Calley, who's Joe McNally's assistant. He's been taking it out, and he's been doing weddings and things like that for Fuji as well. And he's been playing with it, and he thought he got phenomenal stuff. But this is the reason. This was the other thing that I said. That other camera for me wasn't all that viable. What makes it viable for me with this is this.
Yeah.
That right there. That right there goes, all right, game on.
Right.
Now we're playing. So the fact that I could switch lenses on something like this, now we're playing. So I'm really excited. Now I was so excited that this is exactly what I did. Obviously, I don't have one, right? So I turned around and I picked up the phone and I called Lens Pro to go. And I was like, hey guys, do you guys have the X Pro 1? They're like, yep. I'm like, can it be here by tomorrow? And I'm like, yep. So it's like it's actually FedExed over. So we're actually going to spend a week and we're gonna put it through its paces. And I want to shoot it. I want to play with it. So thanks so much, guys. The Lens Pro to go. That's the place that I go to for most of that stuff. They're phenomenal about getting it out there. It's like you order, all of a sudden Pelican case with all that stuff comes in. I thought that was really, really good. Another sponsor, MPix. When I take those pictures, the place that I'm going to put those pictures for prints is going to be MPix. If you haven't used them, make sure you go to mpix.com. It's phenomenal. So those are our two guys. Those are our two sponsors for the show. This show would not be here without them. Now, that said...
Yeah, but going back to your why do I use this camera? For me, it's all tools. And I can't get pictures with this camera I can't get with my Canon or medium format. And that's why I think people should focus on. And the bad advice is buy equipment. When they go to the store, they will buy the 5D Mark III. Their money is spent and they will buy cheap lenses. What you can do best, and I heard it on the grid, I believe, and I totally agree with that, buy the best lenses you can get and buy the prosumer body. And you can make stunning images. When you have more money, exchange the body. Because that's what makes your images. And it's all here, and it's not in the gear. And this camera just gives me different pictures that I can't get with my Canon.
What kind of pictures, what are you talking about that you can get different with these that you can't get with
Just go to a restaurant and try to shoot something. They will come to you, sir, I love the diners.
Right.
And I want to shoot inside the diners. Like, for you guys, it's normal to go to a Denny's. For us in Europe, we don't have stuff like that. So I was sitting with my Canon, and I took a really nice shot of a Denny's inside. And there were like 3 people coming up me from security. You can't shoot here. Now I'm there with the X10 or now the X1 Pro, and they look at me like, oh, he's just a tourist.
Right.
And I can shoot wherever I want now. And that gives me images. And that's way more important than that 50mm lens 1.8. That's much better than the 1.2. No, it takes the same image.
Dude, I know exactly where you should take this. Go downtown to the Tampa Theater. It's the exact same thing that happened to me. I showed up with a camera and I was like, excuse me, can I take a picture inside your theater? It's a beautiful theater. And I was like, can I take a picture with my camera? And they're like, oh, go right ahead. No worries. Just go inside and do it. And the little camera that I had with me was a Leica M9. So I'm like, the pictures were phenomenal. But it was just like they dismiss it.
Yes.
Or it becomes a talking piece. They're like, oh my God, look at that little camera.
Whereas you walk in with the big Canon with the L lens on it, and they immediately...
So it's not a better tool. It's a different tool, you know. And that's the thing. It's just the right tools for the job.
Yeah.
Like I'm a big Nikon guy.
Horses for courses.
Horses for courses. Horses for courses. All right. So let's go ahead and start talking a little bit about bad advice. Pete, Have you ever been the recipient of bad advice in photography?
Oh, yeah.
All right. What kind of advice have you gotten that all of a sudden now, looking back, you turn around and you go, yeah, you know what? Not good advice.
Well, I think one of the things that we all probably get caught up in is the lens buying advice. And everybody that you talk to has a pet lens that they like. And so they will tell you what they think is the best lens out there. The thing that you don't realize as an up-and-coming photographer is that you're going to have a style, and you're going to be shooting certain things that may not be the same as this person. So somebody told me, oh, you need to get this lens. You're going to be shooting a lot of this. You're going to love it. Get this lens. So you go, you know what? I trust this guy. He's a great shooter. Put the money into that. Realize that you use it some, and it's a good lens, but you really needed to invest over here.
First rent it.
Yeah. Yeah, but you don't get that advice. Advice is, you're going to love this, go get this now, it's on sale.
Oh, do you know what the killer lens is? I've always heard that as the killer lens argument. You know what a killer lens is? You know what a killer lens it is? 12 to 24 rectilinear. And I'm like, okay. Oh, 14 to 24, perfect one, 14 to 24. Nikon's got a phenomenal 14 to 24 lens.
I can't shoot portraits with that, sorry.
Right, I've tried shooting a 14 to 24. I've only seen two people, and I'm not saying that because he's right there. I've only seen two people kind of whip out a nice 14 to 24, Moose Peterson and Brad Moore. When I look at their pictures, I'm like, that looks really cool. I try to use a 14 to 24. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's a mess. But what'll happen is people go, oh my God, the killer lens 14 to 24. So I think that a function, what is it that you're trying to do, I think is important.
Well, and I think I love the day with Jay Maisel when Scott and Jay are walking, and Jay talks about how we all have a different eye. We see things differently. We shot a wedding a couple weeks ago, and you tend to shoot a little wider, and I tend to shoot a little closer with a zoom lens, and so we made a great compliment, but that's how we naturally see things. And so our camera gear, what we go to, is going to be completely different.
That's
and
right.
so people just tend to pigeonhole you in one thing. This is the lens you have to have. And I think that I've wasted more money listening to people tell me what lens I should buy instead of figuring out and renting.
Can I throw something in there?
Yep. Sure.
The story about the lenses, and I get this a lot. When I'm shooting medium format, I'm using like a zoom. I'm using a 105 to 210. When I'm shooting my Canon, I'm shooting a 24 to 105 because it's image stabilized, it's nice for video, or a 7200. People will call me crazy because I don't use primes. I own primes, but I don't use them. And all my students who are in a limited budget, I always advise, get zooms.
Right.
And they're like, why? Why shouldn't I buy primes? Because you can get the same lens in a zoom lens. And you know the funny thing? When you start out photography, like I know what a lens will do. But when you start out photography, and let's say you start out with an 85, you will get stuck on the 85. Now when you buy a 70-200, you will start experimenting. You will do a few steps back, make the same composition. Like I want to shoot a headshot from RC, I will do the same thing on 70. I will do the same composition. Now I step back and I do it on 200. And you will immediately notice that his face will change because it's a different kind of look, but the background will change. And this is where you learn. And now when I have a zoom lens, I can go very quickly from 70 to 200, make two totally different kind of shots. When I'm shooting with a prime, I'm sticking myself to one lens. And of course, the bouquet is better. The sharpness is better, but let's be honest, we're shooting 22 megapixels. Are we really going to look at a 200% blow up? No, we're going to make a big print and we're going to watch it from a distance. And then the difference between those lenses will go smaller and smaller and smaller, but you're more versatile with a zoom. So that's the bad advice I would like to throw in. And it's not really bad advice because the primes are better. But the zooms are just so much more versatile, and you can learn your photography with that.
I always hear a lot of people always talk about buying primes and working with primes, as in like it's going to take your photography. It's going to take your photography to the next level.
No,
and
no,
people
it's
are like,
limiting you.
It's like no, it's not. Are primes better? I actually don't see that much of a difference between a prime and a zoom when I'm looking at the two of them. Could it force you to do something compositionally different if you're stuck at an 85 or if you're stuck at a 35? You could, but that's like if you look at learning photography from point A to point B, or from A to Z, if you're trying to get from point B to C, 85 millimeters isn't going to do it. If anything, 85 millimeters is going to frustrate you. right? If you're later on in the game and you're pretty good,
what you're doing.
if you know what you're doing and you know what kind of, you know that you're a wide versus a further down shooter, if you know that you do big scenes versus details and things like that, if you kind of have a general idea and you want to mix it up, then yeah, then a prime is something that's good, because then you are going to focus on, well, I got to get myself here, I got to get myself there, I got to get low, I got to get high. Then you start worrying about all of those kinds of things, but you're not necessarily working on something that's very, very limiting. If you start that in the very, very beginning, it's going to be very frustrating for you, and you don't want things to be frustrating for you when you're just starting out.
I was trying to think of a sports analogy. It would be like telling somebody who's just starting to play golf, you know what you need. You need this really great 60-degree sand wedge. Spend all your money on that and then buy a cheap set of clubs to go with it. Well, your golf game is going to be very frustrating. You may be able to knock the mess out of it out of the sand, but most of your game is going to be played other places, and you've spent your money over here, so you're frustrated with your game because it's not working.
And
over
you don't
here.
learn to use the other stuff.
Right.
And I think learning is the best thing ever.
So, Chris, so I'm looking over at the comments, and it says, as a beginning photographer, what is the best lens to buy to use overall?
It depends on his style.
It's going to largely depend on style. What I would recommend to you, Chris, is take down this web address, lensprotogo.com. Start with a series of different lenses. Go, start at 18, right? Usually it'd be like 18 to 55 or 18 to 70, and then usually go to 70 to 200, and then after that it's like 200 to 300. So there's anything that's like wider than an 18 is usually like fisheye or super big wide angle. You have to find out what your style is, and the best way for you to do that is to go look at other photographers. If they have a lot of stuff inside of a scene and a person is by himself, then chances are you're looking for much wider lenses. If you're seeing a lot of detail work, right? Scott shoots a lot of detail work. Scott shoots really, really, really tight. Then you might want to look for a longer lens. So, but you're going to want to play around with this. You're going to want to make sure that you're experimenting with the different types of lenses. Rent before you buy. You'll find that the amount of money that you spend on the rent is going to be a lot easier for you.
I love that one. Oh.
Bad advice. M. Hedstrom. If your friends and family tell you your photographer's arms, you should open up a business.
I had a discussion with somebody this morning. He sent me an image, a portrait, eyes centered and a lot of space above. And he was really a bit frustrated that I gave him the advice from, dude, try to get the eyes on 2/3 of the frame, cut off a little bit from the top, and it will look nice. And he was said, everybody asks me back because they say my images are awesome. The only question, and I always try to be nice, and sometimes you just don't have to be nice. I said, in the land of the blind, one eye is king.
Yep.
And if you, but if you quit your job.
Wait. Say that one more time.
In the land of the blind, one eye is king.
Let me translate that for our English speakers.
It's not a common expression over here?
No, I'm just making fun of.
No,
okay.
In the land of the blind, a one-eyed man is king.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
So.
Okay. Now, so explain.
So he wanted to go into professional photography because everybody thought he was awesome. I browsed through his portfolio, and it was not more than okay. So if he starts a business, he will fail. Mm-hmm. The only time you have to start your business in photography is if you're passionate about it, you want to spend a lot of time in it, and you go to a portfolio critique from somebody that's really, really good, and he says, I should try this. Then still think about it and start in your day off time and then start with it. But if people say, like my family, they will always say my images are awesome. Even if I shoot monkeys or
my
birds.
mom thinks I rock, dude. I'm like, my
Same
mom's
for
like,
me.
you can do no wrong.
My family must be, never mind, that's a whole other story.
That explains a lot, dude. No, but it is true. It's like your loved ones will tell you, except my wife, whose birthday it is today.
Happy birthday, Jen.
Happy birthday, Jen.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. But but even my wife, she's pretty cool about it. But for the most part, dude, your loved ones are not the people that you want to show your work to for advice. You show it to them to be like, hey, look, be proud of me, but you don't show it to them for advice. If you want to do advice, go find a mentor.
Yeah, and don't go online, by the way. I know a few years ago, I posted some first high contrast portraiture online, and I got so much burn there. Like, Frank, don't do it. Use flat light, that's much better. And I was reading it like, man, I love my shadows to go completely dark. And then when we fast forward like 5 years, I can do the flat line, the flat light stuff, I can do the high contrast stuff, but the high contrast stuff, everybody loves it. But when I would have listened to those guys, I would still be shooting like only the flat light. So when you go online, take everything with like a grain of salt, because people will always try to find something that they don't like. And what RC said, find a good mentor, somebody that really will tell you straight out if your images are great or if your images are bad. And don't be nice.
And you know what I thought the horrible part about all of this stuff is? Now, obviously, there are obvious exceptions to these rules. But one of the things that I thought that was really, really good is the best way to be able to keep everything legit is to pay money.
Yeah, without a doubt.
The best way to be able to get a good advice on something is to pay money. Turn around and find a mentorship and go, listen, we're going to transact a business thing. Like I just looked over and I saw that Moose does it. And Moose does a mentorship program, and he charges money for it. So when I want my stuff from Moose, guess what? I turn around and I go, listen, I know we're friends, but here's the business. This is the business side of it. You're going to tell me whether or not it sucks or not. Moose has absolutely no problem telling me I suck. And no problem whatsoever. But then it's a business transaction, and we're going, all right, this is what we're going to do. If you want to compete in a bodybuilding championship, you would hire a trainer. If you wanted to compete in the NBA, you would hire a coach. There's no difference in photography. A lot of the times, like I always make musical analogies, and it's like I'll find somebody who's learning how to play the guitar, and everybody wants to try to learn how to play using Stairway to Heaven. It's like they'll sit there and they'll play Stairway to Heaven, and it's like they're playing Stairway to Heaven, and they're like, look, I kind of got the first part. And I'm like, good for you. You think I could play with Led Zeppelin? No. No. But there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you being on your way. There's nothing wrong with you doing this and being happy about it and loving it. There's nothing wrong with that. But it would suck if all of a sudden you found out a bankruptcy later.
Yes,
that you didn't
and that's what's happening
to make life decisions based upon that.
Yeah. So don't quit your job if you can't shoot.
Yeah. So and that's one of those things that I think is important. So Marcy J Photo, can Frank come back for critiques? Something tells me that it would be completely honest.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's the European in you.
No, to be totally honest, you know, I sometimes have trouble with being too honest to people, so I will always try to sugarcoat it. But I am brutally honest. If something is like, I've seen portfolios that I'm going like, dude, really? Start painting, start doing do-it-yourself stuff, start reading comics or whatever, but please, please stop calling this photography. And I would tell him, like, I think some people will like it, but if I could give you an advice, I would probably try to do some workshops and try to read some books, and then I hope that they will go through it. But,
get the hint?
Yeah, get the hint. But if they send me stuff online, I will be totally honest. Like, you do the critiques, I really like it, but...
Well, and you've been active on the blind critiques. You've been in there making comments.
That's correct. I love that.
Along the way, so he's actually been there with us making the critiques. If you haven't been,
I'm always with you guys.
Dude, check it out, Fireleaf Design. Yep. Alan, where you been, dude? Come on, what's up? Shoot away. You'll be able to fix it in Photoshop later.
Oh no.
Yeah, that part sucks.
Why fake it when you can create it?
That part sucks. It's just, well, here's the thing. What people don't get with most of that stuff is the balance, right? There's a continuum of all of that stuff. Like if you're in a studio and you're going to shoot something, and let's say a light's kind of a little bit off, right? Could you fix it by going into Photoshop and just kind of adding a little bit of exposure or doing a blend mode or doing something like that?
Takes way too much time.
You could. No, but there could be some times where you could. That might be something that's appropriate, because I've seen the flip side also. I've seen people who will sit there and they're like, well, you know what? I spent 8 hours on a pre-light for a situation, and I'm like, why? Or I spent 3 hours trying to work on this one thing that I wanted to do in Photoshop, and I'm like, why? I'm like, so that's 3 hours that you wasted of a model's time. That's 3 hours that you wasted on a makeup artist's time. That's 3 hours that you wasted on a studio time. So if you calculated that from a money standpoint versus blend mode, adjust, brush it, you have to think about the math. At the end of the day, you have to go, well, that thing that's coming off the top of their head, can I get rid of it? If I can get rid of it in Photoshop, then yeah, great. That's something that's good.
Yeah, but maybe I'm not totally gruesome or whatever. If you're not able to control your light for something that you hire a team for, then you shouldn't shoot it. First, try it out. And one of the tips I give my people, my students, is buy a mannequin. Mm-hmm. It's like a doll. And just shoot with it. And if you have your lights under control, then get your model in, then get your makeup artist in. Because what people don't realize, those people also have jobs. And when you're struggling to get your lights in order, you shouldn't be shooting that. They should be on set, you take the image, and the first image should be totally great. And after that, it's about the model. If the model isn't great, you can coach her. But your lights, the first image you take should be the perfect one. Not posing-wise, but lighting-wise.
That's great.
And how do you get that good?
Go to kelbytraining.com.
Look at that. Wow.
Nice segue.
We have them trained well, dude. That's awesome.
Well, and I think the flip side of that bad advice is now that's trickled into society. Whenever you're taking a picture, now what you hear from people you're taking pictures of, whatever, oh, you can just Photoshop
Fix it
that
in
out.
Photoshop, yes.
And so it's become this perception that it's no problem just to fix hundreds of pictures, just go in there and Photoshop. It's just like hit a magic button and it's all fixed. And so it affects how you as a photographer has to relate, the time you have to spend, and what products you have to give back to your customer.
Absolutely.
And you see that in all the images. They're getting more and more standardized because people are shooting to fix it in Photoshop. And that's maybe the baddest advice you can get. Just fix it in Photoshop. For me, and people are often like, how do you do it? Like we did a photo shoot with a DeLorean last Sunday. And it was a whole crowd next to me. There was smoke, there were 3 strobes, and I only had 1 hour. And still, I nailed the shots because normally I don't do this. I will try to experiment, but at home I already was drawing out everything. The only thing I needed to do was balance the lights to see how the ambient light was. So we set it up in like 2 or 3 minutes. But the pictures came in, and the nice thing was that people looked at it, and there were like 30 or 40 people, and they all said, oh my, how do you get an image like that without Photoshop? And I just look at them. It's simple control of light. You lower the ambient. And there were professional photographers there. And when I told them lower the ambient, you saw the question mark above their head. It's like, I've been shooting for 20 years. And what do you mean by lower the ambient? I said, well, put your strobes higher than the ambient light. And that is something that the bad advice is fix it in Photoshop. You can make a day-to-night shot in Photoshop. No, do it on set. And that's when you learn, and that's when you are growing as a photographer.
And I think that's one of the things that's just like, if you pick up those if you experiment with craft work, that's the craft work of photography. Playing around with most of these kinds of things, I think that part's important. You got to read ATD Photography's comment right there. ATD Photography.
Bad advice. Spray and pray. Shoot 1,000 of a picture and hope to get one good one. Yeah, we've seen that.
You will never get the good one.
Yeah.
Well,
you may get it once, but you can't recreate it. And the problem is you build a portfolio on happenstance instead of on skill.
You know when it works?
I use the word happenstance.
Yeah, wow. Good happenstance one.
I think it works during sports. I have a lot of people who are my students who do sports photography, and then it's spray and pray. However, with model photography or people photography, now think about you're standing there as a sitter, and the photographer is going like, okay, sit there. And you're like, okay, now you can see me breathe. Or as a photographer, you just relax and you say to your sitter, okay, I want 2 cat's lights in your eyes, make sure that you see the light, turn a little bit that way. And what I do is in between, I always make shots, because if they see the strobes going off, they know they're doing something well. So if you're just sitting there, okay, a little bit more to the left, a little bit more to the right, a little bit more to this, people will get nervous. So I will shoot in between, but in between I also know in my head, it's like, this is not the correct image, this is not the correct image. And then suddenly they will have the correct image, and then I will press the shutter for me, and that will be the image. And you just slow down. And the more you slow down, like I've had students who shot 450 images during one shoot. I told them go down to 300. They mailed me, they say, you know what, my keeper percentage has gone up from like 10% to 50%. I said, okay, now go down to 250. And the keeper percentage gets up and up and up. But it depends per thing you do. Sports photography, shoot and pray, because you can't go.
Have to capture that
you
moment.
can't go, okay, can you make that goal one more time, but now a little bit more to the left? No, just shoot.
But see, and I think that, and I'll leave you with this for you guys to think about. When you're looking at photography, it all depends on how you're looking at it. And there's 2 essential differences when you're looking at photography. There is cover versus execute. If you can think of cover versus execute, then you're all good to go. Sometimes you need to cover something. Sports photography, race photography, all that kind of stuff. It requires you to
make sure you get the shot,
and you'll have to cover something.
I don't see moose shooting on motor drive.
Right. Well, I mean,
during a landscape.
If a bird's taking off, you better be sure he's going to turn around. He's going to rip frames. Yeah. But exactly. But landscape is different. When you look at photography in that standpoint, and it's how I like to look at photography, and it's how I'm on my way, It's one of those things where I'm like, sometimes I suck, and I'm fine with that. That's totally cool. But I look at it as a point of execution. What I want to be able to do is I want to be able to go, I see the moment, there's the decisive moment. Click, I got it.
Yes,
And
that's
I was
the
like,
way to do it.
the closer that I get to being able to go, got it.
And now again, you can
If I
use
can
your
do that,
tools.
If I can do that, then I'm cool and I'm great. And when that happens, when I pre-light everything and I go stand here, got this light, got this light, got this light, got it right here, here we go. All right, everybody ready, 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 click, click. And I don't just mean one. I mean like, you take a couple and you go pack, pack, pack. And when you're done and you can walk away, it's like you just want to grab the camera and you're like, and I'm out. And you just want to spike the camera and that's it. But that's what I'm working for as a photographer. I want to execute. I don't just want to cover. Covering is nice, but it's all about execution.
Well, you want to become excellent where most people want to be okay, or they want to be serviceable, whereas a professional wants to hone their craft and hone their craft so that they know everything about it. A master craftsman. And so many people today are all about just getting it done and marketing themselves and making as much as they can for as little input.
Right.
It's not about investing in yourself, your skill. It's what you can get out of it.
Okay, by the way, one thing about the spray and pray is, because I see there, is you can make them nervous just because they aren't quite right. What I do is when I do my model photography and I have the perfect pose, and that pose is there, then I will do a spray and pray session after that to let the model get loose and let her dance and move. And most of the times out of that session, I will shoot 1 frame a second. There will be a killer shot, but first I nail the shot. Then we do one, like 40 frames max. We do a spray and pray session and just see what happens. But with the child photography, I work with child models, do that the same thing as Frank. You can't make them nervous just because they aren't quite right. Yes, but it's not only with child photography, it's with all photographers, all models. A model performs when the strobes go off. And if you don't let the strobes go off and you keep coaching your model, think about like
the tighter they get, the more nervous.
They will get nervous, and it's digital. You can just throw away the images. It's like in the past we shot without film in the camera just to loosen your models up, and it's the same thing now. Only now we shoot. And one tip, I hope I can throw that in. If you're shooting tethered and you see the images, what we do after a set, we always tell our model to go to the makeup artist, and I delete all the bad ones, because if a model first sees the bad image, the next image she will go, is that my nose? My eyes aren't closed, not perfect. And when you show a killer image first, every other image you will be more positive about.
That's great.
Nice. That's a great tip.
Yeah.
So that's a good advice.
Let's do this. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have some more bad advice. You guys are pouring in some really, really good bad advice. We'll keep drilling these guys for more bad advice. Stick around. We'll be right back on the grid.
At Adorama, our trained staff share your love of photography and can help you find what you're looking for. Our inventory is stocked with all types of cameras and accessories you need. Adorama has it all. Adorama, more than just a camera store. Visit us at 42 West 18th or at adorama.com.
Hi, I'm Bill Frakes. I'm a Sports Illustrated staff photographer. Come join my class in environmental sports portraiture. Learn how to have athletes moving at top speed in the context of the games they play, and use the camera to control it so it's action, yet still a portrait. We're going to talk about my general gear. We're going to talk about specific setups for basketball, football, and baseball. The things you need to be successful covering each of those sports. Come check out my latest class on kelbytraining.com.
Welcome back. I like that last one. You're like, but at the... Welcome back, everybody, to the grid. My name's RC. I'm here with Mr. Pete Collins and Mr. Frank Doorhof, dropping some knowledge. Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. It's, you know what? It's really, really cool. And we're really, really glad.
But I heard something really disturbing on my Twitter account. It seems that my son, and he's 13 years old, he's called Brian.
Oh, Brian.
And he's still watching the grid now. And in the Netherlands, it's now like 11 o'clock. So I want to say something in Dutch to him.
Take him to school. What's up?
Okay. Hi Brian. En niet te laat opblijven. Hè? En doe rustig aan. So that was Dutch.
Or else.
Or else.
No, not or
Brian.
else. I just want to say hi.
No, but it was good. He come and see his dad being on the show.
Yes.
All Hollywood. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Hey, some more bad advice. That we got some stuff here. We're gonna let's see. I try to fix that before I take pictures with makeup. But yeah, these days in Photoshop, it's not a big problem anymore. But I don't like to put all of that extra time in Photoshop. I'd rather concentrate on the creative part than the problem fixing. You know what your problem is? A comma. I'm like, wait, I really hope that wasn't a copy and paste. I'm like, I'm trying to read it. I'm like, wait a minute. I try to take pictures these days, and then it just went away. And
He'd rather make sure that he spends his time. He can fix it in Photoshop, but he'd rather make the creative touches he can do in Photoshop and get it right in the camera. Right. So that he spends his time in Photoshop being creative instead of fixing.
Oh, okay, great. That
I don't use commas either, so I understand.
That makes
A good makeup artist will make such a difference because, you know, when you look at the skin, some people will have perfect skin, but even then, if you have a good makeup artist, the tonality your camera will pick up is so different because they use the right foundation, they use the right makeup. There's a huge difference. I can do it both, but people are relying way too much on filtering, and then you see all the Barbie dolls online.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And some people will claim that I do the Barbie dolls because I'm down converting, but I love to see pores. And when you are doing it without makeup, you won't see the pores anymore. And you can put them in later in Photoshop. But come on, man. The maximum time I spend on a picture is like 5 to 10 minutes, and it has to be there. When you don't have a makeup artist, I can spend like 1 hour, 2 hours just on the skin.
Right. Makeup artist is the key.
Yeah, makeup artist
don't
is
understand
key.
it. Yeah,
well, and it's not just your friend who does some makeup sometime.
No.
That's an investment in your image.
I'm sure that your friend's really, really nice, but there is a big difference between makeup you wear on Saturday night and professional makeup.
All right, I got to read Kevin Halliburton. Kevin has some good ones. If you pay attention online, he's got some good ones. He says, I'm not sure what Frank just said, but I'm going to bed.
Bye-bye.
All right, bad advice. Buy the camera that feels right in your hands. See this bandied about on forums all the time without giving any consideration to the type of photography the camera is used for or its features. I don't know.
I love that advice. Get it? You know, it's a tool. Why should you buy a left-handed guitar if you pay a right-handed guitar? Because you have to buy the guitar that fits in your hands. If you're right-handed, buy the right-handed guitar. Not because somebody said you have to buy the left-handed. It's the same with the camera. I'm using Canon, and when I get a Nikon, I can work with the Nikon, but I'm not as quick with the Nikon as I'm with the Canon. And at the moment, for me, it's all about, can I operate my camera in the pitch dark, and can I find everything on my camera? Yes, I can do that with the Canon. Is the Canon better than the Nikon? No, because if I give RC my Canon, he will probably doesn't find the menus that easy, so he should buy a Nikon. And they're both great cameras. They're just tools. They're just something to hit the nail and hit it in the wall.
And
that's it.
Yeah, and there is something to be said about ergonomics. Like there's something to be said about like when I put my hands on a Nikon, like I feel like all of the buttons.
My hands are different from your hands. Oh,
that's what it is.
You have Nikon hands.
Your hands are inferior to mine. Look at this. You can't even see my hand. Look.
Well, and I think what the guy was saying was that oftentimes when you go into a camera shop or whatever, they're just saying, "Hey, we'll see it. You got to get your hands on the camera." And he was saying without taking consideration the technical aspects and the stuff of that, and so you can't just go on, "Ooh, this feels good." You also need to know what the camera's going to do, sort of like when we're talking about the lenses, and so there's a trade-off there.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
Like a Leica feels good.
It feels good,
but there has to be some format of intelligence with the people who are buying it. So.
Okay, all right, fair point.
But you hear on the forums, "Oh, you just need to get your hands on it," and what feels good, that's the camera for you.
Wait a minute.
Well, if you pull out a big camera and you shoot sports and it's only got 4 frames per second, it may feel good until you have to explain to your editor why you can't
even have 4 frames.
Yeah.
There you go. Take a look at these two. These two are going to be great joys. I've heard these at 2 Point. Be creative with your brides. Make them stand out from the background. If they lay down on some freshly tilled soil, they will just pop.
How will they stand out from the background if they're lying on the background?
Well, here's the thing.
And now pop, does that mean they explode when their dress gets dirty?
Now, this is the part that I think that's really, really funny, and I hear this a lot in wedding photography. People are like, well, you know, the best way to be able to do it is to take your bride and put her in an uncommon situation and this, that, and the other, and just experiment. There is no crazier person for you to experiment with
than a bride.
With a person who's getting married. You want, like, she will tase you. She will pull out from under her dress something and just, ow. If you try to experiment with her, that said, there's a certain amount of control that you should exert when you're doing this. So if I were to turn this into a tip, right? When you're shooting a wedding, and I don't shoot weddings all that often, but one of the things that I think that you should do, and this is any kind of sensitive event that you're dealing with, this will apply.
Comfortable.
Understand that confidence goes a very, very long way. Confidence in what you do, confidence in how you work, confidence in the skills that you bring go a long way. A bride, in general, is really, really stressed out, happy, sad, overjoyed, overworked. All of these kinds of different emotions are happening, and all she wants to do is focus on the man that she's about to marry.
Experiment with your friends, models, or a mannequin. Don't experiment with clients.
Don't
Be
play
confident.
with a crazy lady. She will kill you. But what you want to do when you go there is you want to be able to go, you know what? I got this.
Yeah.
I got this. Dude,
trust me.
This is what I want you to do.
And then you can do weird stuff.
And that's what they're buying. When they buy that stuff, when a bride is buying you as a wedding photographer, what they're buying is that no matter what, you got it. Like we just did a weekend. Pete and I did a wedding last week, and we were a couple
2
weeks
weeks ago.
We were doing a wedding, and the first thing that I did was walk in, and she was sitting there. And she's like, "Oh, well, I gotta do this, and I gotta do this, and I gotta do this," and I was just like, "You know what? Don't worry about it. You go have yourself a good day. We got this." And that's it. And then you just blend into the background and take your shots, cover your list, right? Make sure you have a list, cover your list, make sure that you got everything done, but don't play, don't experiment. If she turns around and goes, "Hey, I want to go jump in this field," remind her that it's probably not the best idea. Take control of the situation, but don't experiment. So.
Yeah, and what you mean with experiment, please don't, I hope I understand you correctly. It doesn't mean you can do funny stuff with your brides, stuff that you didn't see. You can lay her down in the soil, but make sure that when you take the shot, it's not like, okay, I'm going to try this. No, it didn't work. I'm going to try this. No, this also doesn't. Well, this looks okay. No, if you do something weird with your bride or with your model or any paying customer, make sure that when you press that shutter button, the only way that the image can go wrong is when they don't perform. So you have to be 100% sure you're a pro, and a pro presses the button. It's like a heart surgeon. Okay, today I'm gonna try to exchange your heart. If it goes wrong, okay. No problem at all.
But people look at that with wedding photographers all the time. There's a big difference between don't experiment and be creative. You can be creative all you want. Just don't be experimentative.
That's not the time. You've got to make sure that you know what you're doing so that when you're being creative, it's the look is creative, but the skills you need to pull it off you're not having to be creative just to pull it off. You already know you can get the shot if it's there for you.
When I shoot celebrities, the creative stuff was first tested on a model.
That is the point, right? And that's what I was just going to say. I was going to say, when people look at wedding photographers, people go, "Oh, wedding photographers, this guy got this phenomenal shot with this bride who's looking this in this direction and grabbed this and did that." And I'm like, yeah, you know why? Because he's probably done that like 40 different times. Yes. He knows when they walk into a venue, they know that venue like the back of their hand. If we shoot that venue again, we know exactly where to go. We know how to light it. We know what to do. We know what the killer shots are. And a wedding photographer is just in the back of his head going through that list. He knows all the places. He knows all of the spots. If you want to translate this into like an event shoot or like an environmental shoot, or you're doing that stuff, pre-light. Pre-light is when you bring in the stunt model. Pre-light is when you bring in your friends, your assistants, and you test everything. I'll go out to a shoot with everything. It'll be like a real shoot with not the real person. And the entire thing will be less set up, and the picture will be gorgeous, but the person that's there will be like my buddy. And then I'll turn around and I'll show up the following day and I'll be like, "All right, here we go."
And let the customer think you're doing something unique.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh my God, you just did that in 10 minutes." And I'm like, that's how I roll.
And then they think you're a real pro.
Not this.
Well, that reminds me of, and you think about translating, I remember Dave Black talking about shooting the Olympics. What they would do to prepare for that one shot of, Mary Lou vaulting across, or he would stand in one spot that he knew was the angle he needed to be at for 7 hours beforehand so that he could get that angle. But he had already plotted that out. He already knew, and that's where the professional comes in that the amateur, the hobbyist doesn't realize.
Dedication and preparation.
The investment beforehand.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at a couple more, and we got to wrap this thing up. Mel brings up a comment. I was told not to ever use a tripod because no pros ever use a tripod. I'm going to take this one, guys. The single most important piece of gear that you could possibly own to take your stuff to the next level is a tripod. It doesn't matter what tripod it is. I personally am a big fan of Really Right Stuff and Gitso. Those are my two favorite parts. They're expensive as all get out. But a good tripod, will automatically let you see an incredible amount of stuff to your photography because you can control depth of field, you can control shutter, you can experiment with all of these different things that once you get to a point where all of a sudden you can't hold your camera still, everything is a mess. But like if you shoot at night and you can't hold your camera still, it's just a glob. But if you put it down and you do long range exposures or you do longer and longer and longer on a shutter, you can see so many differences in exposure and photography on most of that stuff. To me, the difference between a person who's invested in making a shot and a person who kind of hopes to make the shot in environmental stuff sometimes is a tripod. So I have to disagree with that. I think it's a great piece of advice.
But I also think every advice that starts with because no pro uses it, it's like there are so many pros out there. Like I shoot my HDR stuff. RC got me into HDR. I never used HDR. I'm now shooting HDR, but I'm shooting it handheld because I use Nick. I use Nick HDR FX, and it does a perfect alignment. And why don't I use a tripod? I don't want to carry it with me. I do have a tripod. I got a great tripod, and sometimes I will bring it with me. But it depends on the one who's using it. And as soon as an advice says pros never use it, it should be a bad advice because there are so many pros out there and so many different ways of shooting. There's always a pro that uses something that somebody else doesn't.
Here's another one. Convert it to black and white and just call it fine art. Nope. Black and white picture of poop is still poop.
Yep.
Sorry. Next comment.
There's no magic filter in Photoshop.
Yeah. Talk to the bride beforehand on what shots they want to comment. They want. Talk to the bride beforehand about what
they want.
What sort
of shots they want. It's a good idea. It's a good idea, but yeah, it's hard.
I think it's probably more important to know the personality of the bride and kind of their expectations, have communicated with the bride, because then you can make the shots that they want without having to go through, hey, is this all right, this all right? They know what they want. I love the last one. Kevin, once again, bringing it strong today. Never put a bride on a surface you wouldn't set your camera on.
Yes, that's a good one. Same with the models.
Yeah, don't ever ask a model to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. Don't ever ask a model to do something.
I'm afraid of height, and I will hang over a wall. If my model has to do it, I have to do it. Right. There are limits.
There are limits. But anyway, guys, that was all the comments. A lot of really, really good,
good, bad
advice. Yeah. So it was good. We went around. Nancy, how the chat's looking?
Great. Everyone actually is saying the exact same thing about how ironic that the bad advice show is filled with great advice. So yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool. What do we do for a contest over here?
Okay, if we are ready to do the giveaways, everybody listen up. These are the prizes. We have 3 copies of Frank's Freeze Motion Photography. We have 2 or 3 copies of Scott Kelby's Crush the Composition, 2 copies of the Crush the Composition DVD. We have 1 t-shirt. And then we also have 2 copies of Frank's, what DVD was that called?
Live in Boston. It's the newest one. It's over 2 hours of instructional material.
Awesome. Nice. Okay, so in the live blog, type in the comments your name, your email, and the prize you want, and then just hit submit. I won't publish it, so we need to hold off on all the comments while everyone submits for the contest. So just enter once, and then we go through after the show and pick random winners, and we'll email you.
Nice.
And that's it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. But hey, on a round of thanks, dude, I'm excited. I'm excited. The next couple of days, it's gonna be some. It's gonna be
Fuji fun.
It's gonna be. We're gonna do some good stuff. I'm really excited. I think it's gonna be great to kind of get out there and just put it through its paces and see what's happening. Now, I got a different lens though. I got the. I think it was like the 18.
Yeah.
So I'm shooting a little wider than I normally would, but I'm excited.
We can change lenses. That's the fun thing about this. We can just change.
It's on.
I'll just walk around behind y'all carrying the
shootout.
All right. We'll do it. All right. Anyway, so Mr. Pete Collins, thanks so much for coming by, man.
No problem. Hey, real quick, don't forget about the CS6 webcast, live webcast. We've got 2 more, actually 3 more, because we're doing 6 days of CS6. They're at 12 o'clock in the afternoon
Tomorrow.
Eastern Standard Time.
Right. So
Eastern
tomorrow,
Standard
noon
Time.
Eastern Standard Time, photoshopUser.com/CS6/live. We're going to have an hour episode talking specifically about how to use Photoshop CS6 and video. Also, you want to keep in mind that all of this stuff that we're talking about in community and Google Plus and all of that kind of stuff, we have a giant conference that's happening on Google Plus. So make sure that you go to gpluspc.com to register for the Google Plus conference. This is a time for you to spend just a small amount of people doing face-to-face interactions with some of the best people that are out there in social media. So if you want to come and hang out with us, if you want to come break bread, hang out, take pictures, be inspired, talk, this is the best place for you to do it. Make sure you take a look at gpluspc.com. Now, Pete, thank you so much. Frank, absolute pleasure.
Great being here.
Absolute pleasure. And something tells me we're going to see more of you.
Yep.
I'm going to leave it at that.
I'm going to pop up as a surprise sometimes.
Okay. Good enough. Anyway, so thank you so much to all of you guys for stopping by. My name is RC, and we'll see you guys next time on The Grid. Take care.
Bye.
This week's episode of The Grid is sponsored by Impix. Shoot today, upload tonight, we ship tomorrow. Manfrotto. Imagine more. On One Software that gets you back to shooting.
Adorama, more than a camera store. And Tiffin, helping create the world's greatest images.